We're here going to Animation Academy.
Got everything first.
Alright, well for this class, we're going to be drawing Donald dressed up in his double costume for Halloween. Donald, he's going to start with the basic geometric shape. All of our characters do. He starts with a circle. Now, as you're picking up those pencils, you notice that something's missing on the end of the eraser. After he does, we'll be lightly sketching out our character. Lines that we want to keep, we're going to go back and lock those lines in. That way all those outlines are going to fade away into the background. So what a rough sketch is all about is getting your ideas on that sheet of paper. So it's supposed to look loose, definitely a little messy too. On the center paper, I want to create a circle. I'd say about the size of a tennis ball. A baseball is a good size. You're sketching out your circle, make sure you're using that whole entire arm when you draw, and not just your wrist. Because if you're just using your wrist, it's more like writing than it is drawing. I will lightly sketch out line up here. I promise to let you know getting into the darkening in part, stuff we really want to keep. But for now, keep your line super light loose. So I'm just going to create lots and lots of lines in here, and that's going to look for our foundation. So if you don't like one side, you can always round it out until you got it to the way that you like it. All these extra lines are helping in creating that one shape. I'm just kind of blending them together so it looks like it's a circle. Within the circle, sketch out some construction lines. These lines are going to help us anchor down the features of the base. So very lightly sketching out one line that goes right down the middle of the circle, so it's dividing it in half. And for our second construction line, we're going to cut the bottom third section of the circle. So this is going to help for placement with the eyes to help us to form in the middle. This is our basic foundation for a duck. Now that we've got a foundation, we'll start to draw in some details to make it actually look like Donald. So I'm going to hop over here towards the circle in the construction line we're meeting and drawing in a letter C, like a candy cane shape, sitting over on its side. Now this is something I want to keep, so I'm going back and locking that in. I'll do the same thing over here on the left side. I'm just drawing in a backwards letter C, a little candy cane in there. For the top portion of the bill, it's like a stretched out rainbow shape. So underneath that candy cane, I'm going to stretch out a rainbow. So I'm going to stretch this inside of the circle a little bit and stretching that right back out. And then once I got it in place the way I like it, I can go back and really start to pick out my favorite lines to lock it in. Round out the corners of the duckbill too by sketching out some more letter C's. So I'm making sure that the corners of the bill are rounded out. I like to save more of those sharper points and angles, definitely more for our villain-like characters. And Donald's not a villain at all, he just has that temper problem. So this way it looks like you have more like a bent-out coat hanger shape on your page, or you can also think of it as like a bill of a baseball hat coming forward to you as well. So with it looking straight ahead, you want to be able to see that the duck bill looks like it's coming forward to us a little bit further on the page. So halfway in between our construction line and the top of the bill, I'm drawing in a smaller rainbow shape. We'll create in some cheeks, and that's by going right up above this little backwards C here on the left-hand side, and on the side of the circle, sketching out a backwards question mark shape and curving that back in towards the side of the bill. Oh my goodness. I'll do the same thing over here on the right side. So this time I'll add in a regular question mark and a little coffee cup handle in there. We'll open up the mouth as well, and that's by hopping back in towards those cheeks on either side, and I'll very lightly sketching out a diagonal line. So very lightly going right through that duckbill so I know where it's poking out on the other side. And doing the same thing here on the right. Where these two are poking out, I'm going to connect them at the bottom by drawing in a stretched out letter U shape. So what we can do is stretch out one side and curving that back in towards the construction line and stretching out the other side so it's connecting at the bottom. So it's helping to create in this bowl shape here for him. I'm going to go back and lock it in. So anything that's not being covered up by that top portion of the duck bill. We'll give him some lips too. And let's go going back in towards the inside here for him, or those letter C shapes. And we'll do the same thing again. So very lightly sketching out right through the bill. And doing the same thing here on the left side. And where these two are poking out, we'll connect them with another U shape. So this way you're giving him some lips, so he can kiss Daisy, blow kisses, whistle, use his bill as a flute, eat a churro. Things that normal ducks don't tend to do. Of course, there will be something missing on the inside of his mouth, which is that duck tongue. It's the curved letter V that sits right inside the middle of the mouth, which also happens to be the only sharp point on him here as well. Alright, so this way we've already created the bottom half of Donald. Though with the bottom half in place, we'll move up to the most expressive part for any character, those eyes. I'm going to give him some angry eyes. So we'll want to arch his eyebrows. The further that you arch his eyebrows down in towards those two construction lines or meaning, the angrier he is going to look for you. So it's very lightly sketching out a letter V shape, like you're cutting out like a piece of pie at the top of the circle. And doing the same thing over here on the left side. You can decide which eyebrow overlaps the other. I'm going to choose the right eyebrow overlapping the left. So on the inside of that letter V on the left-hand side, drawing in a small letter C. And I'll go back and lock in the rest of my letter V shape all the way back up towards the top part of the circle. I'll go back and lock in the rest of the letter V over here on the left-hand side. So anything that's not being covered up by that checkmark shape. We'll go back and frame in the eyes over on the sides by drawing in these stretched out parentheses or some letter C shapes. So starting up at the top part of that letter V and curving that right back in towards the side of the cheek there for him. Just doing the same thing over here on the right side. Well, the ducks have got this little bridge area that happens right in between their eyes there for them. For that bridge, underneath where that letter V is, I'm going to draw in a stretched out rainbow shape here for him. And from that, I'm going to curve that right back in towards the side of the cheek by drawing in a letter U. Just curving that back in towards the side there for him. For the pupils, you can really place his pupils anywhere inside those eyes you want. So you can have him more like he's thinking or looking over at your neighbor. So you can place or even add in flames for eyes there for him. I mean, he is in the devil's costume, or he will be after all. I'm not going to have him looking straight ahead at all of you. So towards the inside part of that shape, I'm very lightly sketching out an oval shape. But it's totally okay if a little part of the oval is being cut off by the top part of the eyebrow. It's showing that some real weight is bearing down on top of those eyes there for him. But however you sketch them into place, you also want to make sure that they're the darkest part of the sketch too. This is where all that focus is going to, is right inside those eyes. So I'm making sure that it's the darkest part of the drawing, since that's why I want all the attention and focus is to go to there first, before you really look at anything else. We have the bottom part of the eyebrow, but we'll draw in the rest of his eyebrow muscle by sketching out a rainbow shape. So going right up above his eye, and sketching out a rainbow shape, so breaking outside of that circle and curving that back in. I'm doing the same thing over here on my side. We use the duck, so we'll draw in some feathers to fluffen him up. And that's by hopping in towards the side of the cheek and drawing in a small line that curves inside of the circle. Just doing the same thing here on that side. And that's where the feathers like to bunch up, is over by the cheek area. I'll go back and walk in the side of the head from the eyebrows down in towards those feathers, picking out your favorite lines along the sides. He's also got a little tuffle of feathers up at the top of the head. To sketch it out, it kind of looks like shark fin shapes, or you can also think of them as blades of grass or letter V shapes. So starting up at the top of his head in the middle, I'm going to draw in a shark fin shape that curves up and out. I'll add in one that curves out over towards the side. And I'll draw in one more little shark fin feather curving it down. So they're all letter V shapes, so I'll just face different ways. With this hair in place though, I'm going to go back and lock in the rest of the head. So anything that's not being covered up by that little tuffle of feathers. Right, so if you want, you can even keep Donald the way he is. I'm going to draw in his devil costume by adding in his horns as well as his cape. So for his horns, over here on the side of his head, right below the eyebrow, I'm going to draw in a stretched out letter C, a parenthesis shape. So I'm stretching this up and out. I'm doing the same thing over here on the right hand side. I'm just drawing in a backwards letter C, stretching that up and out. And drawing in a smaller letter C and curving that right back in towards the side of the eyebrow. So creating in that point of that double horn. And do the same thing here on the right hand side. To create in his cape, hopping back in towards the side of his head, right up above his cheeks, I'm going to stretching out a rainbow shape. So I'm just stretching that below my construction line there on the side. Maybe even very lightly sketch out right through the shape so you know exactly where it's going to be poking out on the right hand side there for him as well. And drawing in another stretched out rainbow and curving that right back in towards the bottom part of his bill. You can think of these as even like number 7 shapes here for him too. So just going back and sketching those in there. And doing the same thing over here on the left hand side. So creating in these little points or corners here to the cape. You can also go back and really darken up any of those lines that maybe might have faded away throughout our drawing process here for him. So the last step, an artist really needs to make his signature. And you can sign your name wherever you feel it fits best. And after all done, you have sketched out your very own Donald Duck, who's ready for Halloween.
Here's my Jake. Let's see yours. That looks real good.